Hi folks, Jeremy here. Today I'm going to show you how to set up a Discord server to use in an online classroom. Now this video does assume that you already know what Discord is, you already know that you want to use it for your online class, and that you already have an account. So if those things aren't true for you, then this video is simply not for you, and I will see you next time. But for those of you who are ready and raring to go, let's jump right in. So if you'll look to the left of your Discord account, you'll see any servers that you're currently a member of. Here's the server that I've set up. And to create a new server for your class, all you need to do is click the plus sign. You can create a server, and then let's give it a name. We'll just call this demo server. You can set the server region if it's different from the default here. You can also give it a nice image, but for now, let's just go ahead and create. And it's going to pop up with an invitation link. Now, all I have to do is send out this link to my students and they can join my class. What you'll notice here though below is it says your invite link expires in 1 day. So what I always recommend is to set this link to never expire, and you'll notice that the link actually has changed when I do that. But this allows you to keep that invitation persistent so that your students can always access the classroom. You won't need to send them a new invite every day. Of course, you have the option to do it that way if you'd like. Okay, and then you can copy and just paste and send this out to your students. Put it in Canvas or whatever LMS that you're using, and make sure that they always have a direct link to the chat room. Now, as you enter, you'll see a lot of instructions here that you can look over, but really, setup is very simple, and we can go ahead and get started. Now, it places me by default in this text channel called #general, and here I can just type in messages like hello everyone and enter that, and this is just basically a chat room for us. Now, what is the question that you might want to answer for yourself as you're getting started is, if you have multiple classes, say you have 3 classes, do you want to create 3 different servers for those classes, or do you want to use one server and create 3 different channels? Because I can do that. I can create 3 different text channels, create a channel, and I can create multiple text channels or voice channels, and I can put that all under one server. If I do it that way, then all of my students that are invited to the server will be able to see what's going on in the other classes, so they'll be able to move back and forth between them. You might not want that. If that's the case, you can just set up 3 different servers, and then each server will have its own separate invitation, and so only students who are in that class will be invited to that server. Okay, now, probably you want to use this for having conversations with your students. So what you'll most likely be using is the voice channel here, which I am already inside of. And so let's just talk about some quick troubleshooting things that you might encounter. Discord is generally very easy, but technology is confusing for a lot of people, and there's always a possibility that things will go wrong. So I want to talk about some of the most common issues that you might encounter. Now, if you see this green circle around my name, that means that Discord can hear me, my computer can hear me, and my audio should be going through and people should be able to hear it. If I see this green circle and people are telling me that they can't hear me, then the problem is most likely on their end. They may need to check their speakers or headphones or whatever else, and make sure that those things are working and they're turned up. Now, if I stop talking for a moment, notice how the green circle went away. That tells me that it's not picking up any sound from me. Okay, now, another thing that might be an issue is some students won't be in the voice channel by default, and they'll need to join the voice channel when they come into your server. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from the server, which I would do down here. Okay, and now I'm not in the voice channel, so people would not be able to hear me. All I have to do is click on the channel to join it, and now I'm in. So sometimes a student might not have actually entered the voice channel, and then you might have to tell them to go into the voice channel. A good workaround for that, a good way to prevent that issue from happening at all, is if you will click on the Create Instant Invite while under the voice channel. So I'm under the voice channel. I can get this instant invite here, which will direct someone to the text channel. Or I can get this one, which, if you'll notice, is a different link. This will put them directly inside the voice channel, so it avoids that issue altogether if you just give them the link directly to the voice channel. Once again, though, make sure that you set this link to never expire. Okay, this way students will get dropped straight into the chat and they should be ready to go. As usual, there should be a pop-up for them saying that they'll need to allow their microphone. Okay, so that is the other issue. What if you can't hear them? They can hear you, but you can't hear them. Most often, it's a case of, okay, they're not in the voice channel or they haven't allowed their microphone. Discord will automatically generate a pop-up for that, so that shouldn't generally be an issue. And then the other alternative is sometimes you just need to disconnect and then reconnect. Just as with most things in computers, sometimes code gets buggy and you just have to tell it to stop and start over again, and things will magically work. Okay, so barring that, the issue could be that their microphone doesn't work, it's not plugged in correctly, but assuming that everything gets set up, usually once you have those issues resolved, they don't come up again. So there might be a little bit of initial troubleshooting with your users, but generally this is it. Like, now we're ready to go. Anybody that joins this room, I can talk to. Now I have some other options down here where I can mute myself, and this will make it so that other people can't hear me. You might want to instruct students to do that in case you're getting a lot of chatter on the channel, or if maybe somebody's microphone is too sensitive and you can hear them breathing on the channel, so you might ask them to mute themselves. You can also mute them yourself by going over to the members bar over here. If you don't see that, click on this member list icon to toggle it, and that will give you a lot of options. When you right click on people, you can mute them, you can deafen them. Obviously I don't have all the options for my own account, but I could also kick somebody out, or I could ban them and they would never be seen again. So this gives you some control over your users there. You can also deafen your account so that now you can't hear them, they can't hear you. And then lastly, you can go to user settings. You'll find a lot of different options here, but the most important one is just log out. And if you don't want to log out, then click escape. There are, in general, a lot of great administrative options here, and it gives you a lot of fine-tuned control over your server. But for the most part, the default settings are good and you won't need to adjust those. The main thing that you might want to do is, if you have, teachers' assistants or guest speakers or other people that you want to assign roles to and different permissions. But we're not going to go into all the settings here. Just know that there is a lot of that control available to you if you should choose to use it. All right, and then the last thing that I wanted to point out is a potential issue that you might sometimes encounter with student logins. So Discord allows students to join your chat without creating an account, which can be great, because then even if they can't remember their password or something, they can just access the chat and they can just use a temporary name. Now, what you might sometimes notice, though, is that, hi, I've got 5 Jeremys over here on my member list, and they're all temporary accounts because Jeremy keeps logging in as a temporary account and it gets added to the list, but he's having to make a new temporary account every time, and he hasn't claimed his account. Okay, so claiming an account is when you actually sign up and you turn a temporary account into a permanent account. But what can happen sometimes is that students or other users will create the account and then they'll forget the login, or they might access on a different computer and they might use a temporary account. So let's suppose, though, I had an account and I come on one day and I join the server on a temporary account. Well, what might happen is that I can't log out of my temporary account to log back into my original account because it's a temporary account. It's not really even an account, so there's no way for me to log out of it. So what I would do in that case is I'm going to have to clear my cache or my cookies. Generally, my cookies will be sufficient. If I clear my cookies in my browser, then I can go back and log into my account as I originally expected. So this is probably one of the trickiest things with Discord, is that sometimes you can create an account and then you end up using temporary accounts over and over again instead, which is not necessarily problematic, but some people would just prefer to be in their account, and that makes it easier for you to send messages to each other and communicate with a little bit more clarity. Okay, so that is my basic introduction to how to set up a server for your online class. As you can see, it's very easy. There are just a couple of small issues you might want to be aware of. And then the rest is for you. Okay, I hope this video was helpful, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I will see you next time.